portrait by Lotto, you see that he, similarly to the first picture we saw by him, the first portrait we saw by him, is posed more or less front to them. I mean, he is turning his head, but quite flatly against a uniform background. It's very Venetian arrangement. However, he's rendered literally warts and all. You see the warts on his cheeks here and on his forehead. His face is really naturalistic. And there's a real force in the way he looks at us. Much different from the young man who had that wistful, dreamy, Georgianesque maybe, poetic tenor. This is a serious confrontation with the sitter, in a way intimate, and certainly he's very present, and this is something Lotto excels at. And then you have the rendering of details, his signet ring, the little scroll he has here. Bernardo da Rossi was an important ecclesiastical but also political figure in Treviso. He was the bishop of the city, and he was hated by certain political factions. In fact, there is this theory that this scroll pertains to a court case he successfully pursued against political rivals who recently had tried to have him assassinated. And he survived that and pursued a court case against them afterwards. And this is shortly before this painting was made. He was a patron of Lotto's. He surrounded himself with poets, painters, humanists of all stripes. Humanism is the study of all knowledge that's not directly emerges from the church and from religion. So the attention to classical antiquity, to classical poetry, and the whole new literature and art that's coming out, and science indeed. I mean, it's all of these things, and it's this new knowledge is becoming a force to be reckoned with in the class of people that Lotto surrounds himself with, or that Lotto attaches himself to in Treviso. So, a really good illustration of that is this painting on the left, which is the cover of that, of the portrait. Most portraits, if they were not official or semi-official state portraits that would be seen in public, were quite private objects, slightly analogous to family photos that we keep in albums today, or indeed on our hard drives, more increasingly you can't find anymore, and so on. But private objects that you show to people in a more intimate way, friends, family members, and so on. And that's the same here, and therefore, most portraits were covered up in some way, often with a cover, a painted cover sometimes. We don't know a whole lot about these covers because so few of them survive, but we know that they were used for most portraits from inventories and so on. And this, we know, belonged to that. And we have indeed the same escutcheon, the family arms of Da Rosso here and here. So what's going on here? This is slightly complicated, very intellectual image, but the basic message is clear. It's a juxtaposition of something bad and something good, vice and virtue. On the right, we have a satyr embodying the bestial, the animal nature of man. Drunk, clearly, looking into this ewer probably for wine or something, spilling milk literally into the grass, and also wine over here. Behind him is a ship that sinks in the storm, and the tree that separates the composition is blighted and dead on the right side. On the left side, there's a new shoot, a fresh shoot, and here's a small child, a little boy, nude, clambering around in the dirt, looking and finding different objects here. Objects of music, the musical instruments, books, and objects for measuring things. And he picks up a compass. He embodies the searching human soul, the dawning of enlightenment of the human soul. The compass that he picks up is of course used for geometry and geometrical calculation, and it is an object that is associated with discovering the order of the universe, of the cosmos, of nature, and so on. And then in the back, on the other side of these sharp, forbidding rocks, we see a verdant green mountain with a little boy, probably the same boy, with now sprouted wings all over his body, and is ascending into this cloud-covered mountaintop from which light emerges, and that's the light of enlightenment. this pertains directly to a contemporary treatise on the appetites of the human soul that was written by an associate of the Rossi's. And so it's an illustration of theory, of theory from a treatise at this time. It's allegory, virtue, and vice, but it's a very specific one, and very intellectual, something that only associates of the Rossi would even understand. But this is the kind of thing he wanted to be associated with. This is what he aspires towards, and that's often the role of these covers. If they're decorated, they illustrate the aspirations or like somehow the identity of the sitter, or what the sitter wants to be thought of, how he wants to be thought of. So one last thing about this, it's very precisely painted. As you can see, the little buttons are lined up like peas in a pod here. The drapery folds are very precise, quite angular. Everything's extremely neat and done with sort of crystalline precision. And then beautifully, there's a sliver of blue sky up here at the top, which you'd be forgiven for not noticing in the exhibition because it has a frame, this picture, and it's impossible to light it to see that blue bit. It's in shadow, but you can look for it. Then he paints an important painting in Asolo, which is also part of the Venetian Dominion. I just like these drone shots that we have, so I'm going to show you those to you. You see there, this is the town of Asolo sat on the top of a hill, and it's in this picture. This is the first thing you see as you come into the first room of the exhibition. It's an altarpiece. We don't know the exact circumstances of its commission, but it's painted with this great